Now, welcome back to the programme. A lot of people ringing and texting in about climate change. We'll come to that in a few minutes. Regina Mangan, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming in to us.
Thank you for having me, Damien.
Liberty Blue Estate Agents, the latest daft.ie report. What are the headline figures before we dig deeper into it?
So the average rent in Waterford is €1,007 according to the DAFT report. That is still €200 less than Limerick and €300 less than Galway per month. And Dublin, to put it into context, is 2,044 on average. But look, DATS and STAT are right. When you bunch it all together, it does skew up numbers. I think you'd be hard pressed to get a property to rent in Dublin for less than $2,500. So on average, if you base it on a 2-bed property, the average price for a 2-bed property in Waterford is somewhere in the region of €850. And in Dublin, it's $2,500. And it's significantly higher, probably $1,200 in Limerick. So we are still, albeit that the prices are rising and they're rising in Waterford, inflation has slowed down drastically. I think the last time we were well over 10% in Waterford because we were rising at a fierce rate, and now we're back to 5% inflation.
Because we had been coming from such a low starting point.
Yeah, and the rent pressure zone extended to Waterford was a good thing. You know, I think I remember saying that to you on the last end. Like, you can't have prices to continuously rise. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for our children. It's not healthy for the next generation. And in Ireland, we are moving away from home ownership. I remember telling my bank manager that 10 years ago, walking down the street, I said, Nora, people are going to be renting properties in Ireland. They're not going to be owning them, the next generation. So, like, we're nearly half of our society are renting now.
Half?
44% based on the census. So, like, you know, it's nearly half. So people are migrating. What we're finding in Waterford actually is that a lot of people are relocating to Waterford because it's more affordable. Like, that's good news, isn't it?
And what about Dungarvan? What do we know about the county?
I haven't checked the Dungarvan numbers, but all I know, right, is it's a complete disaster. There is no stock in Dungarvan to rent. I haven't checked it this morning, but in general, it's bad. There just isn't stock.
What about the stock in Waterford?
In terms of stock in Waterford today, right, there are 29 houses to rent, of which 8 are students, because I went through and counted them all. So that's 21 houses for families to rent. And that's anything from a beautiful executive home in Newtown for €1,700 down to a house in Ferrybank for €875 or €900. So,
what do you think of that level of stock? Is that terrible?
It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Like, if you can imagine a wonderful jobs announcement now in the morning, let's just say, like, we're talking about Brexit. David McWilliams spoke at a conference that I was at last week in Dublin, and he reckons that Brexit is going to be a really good thing for Ireland. Now, obviously, he's not a fortune teller, but in his opinion, that there will be great opportunities for companies wanting to trade, obviously, in Europe, and Ireland is well positioned to take up on that advantage. I think the worrying thing might be that a lot of them will want to settle in Dublin, and Dublin is seriously in distress infrastructure-wise and everything. So Waterford is well positioned. In terms of stock, yeah, it's not good. Like, you know, I was just reading about Dublin and Cork. Like 25,000 new purpose-built rental homes are being built in Cork and Dublin over the next 5 years. There's none being built in Waterford, purpose-built rental properties.
Why is that the case?
Those properties that are being built by hedge funds, pensions, and they're availing of significant tax breaks. You know,
is it because the returns are so much higher there?
It is, yeah. I mean, the big issue here is obviously the cost to build. They're saying, you know, until building comes in line with affordability, then, you know, we are in big trouble here. Yeah, it is. It's the return on the investment.
Is it a good time to invest in Waterford? For example, Rob Cass was quoted in the Sunday Business Post, well, not Rob Cass directly, but spokespeople for different people quoted, and that there should be, I suppose, more developments, and that this would allow, if the housing stock increased, this would allow for businesses to say, okay, we have houses for our workforce if we do decide to make an announcement.
Yeah, we need stock. Absolutely, we absolutely need stock. But there is new housing developments coming online in Waterford. We've seen little to no construction over the last few years in Waterford, but there is definitely green shoots. But I suppose in terms of apartments, that's sort of solving a problem for the rental market. There's no apartments.
There's no new apartments being built at all.
None. So these are owner-occupier homes that are being built. So they're not going to help the rental supply. And we have to remember what's happening. Society is changing. So we have a whole load of different things happening. Young people are more transient. They don't want to be bogged down with a big mortgage and stuck in a place. They want to be able to live and have money and not be tied down. Then you have marriage breakdown. So that means instead of one home, it's two homes. Couples cohabiting together, maybe who don't want the commitment of buying a property. People migrating from rural to urban. That's a really big thing, especially people getting into their autumn years. We see a huge shift from rural to urban.
How do you predict the rental prices will go in the next year in Waterford?
Well, it's dictated now by the rent pressure zone. So there are areas that are precluded from the rent pressure zone, like O'Connell Street and Grace Dew and Ferrybank. I would suspect that government will bring that in over the next 12 months. I think that's healthy. The rent pressure zone, 4% increase, it means everybody can budget. They know it's 4%, and they can budget accordingly. It's fair, I think, on both sides.
Regina Mangan from Liberty Blue Estate Agents, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.